super chill. You're super calm. What are you smoking right now? Are you smoking like sativa, indica, hybrid?
I don't even know. I'm gonna guess it's indica or maybe a hybrid. It seems to be like outdoor, maybe organic from what like the buds look like to me. But I'll be honest, I just went to like a friend in Oakland and I was like, an ounce. And he said, here you go. And we didn't talk about it beyond that. So I should probably pay him. I haven't asked him how much it cost yet either. I owe him money. But yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So I want to get into this because, in my opinion, you are a prominent figure in the wrestling industry. And you've opened some doors for many marginalized individuals in this space, especially with your promotion that you created with Hoodslam. So, talk to me about what the goals have been for you in Hoodslam.
At first it was kind of like I had been wrestling already for like 10 years ish or some big number of years. And I kind of reached a point where I was like, I don't want to do this for any reason other than I like it. And like I traveled around, like I just spent like almost a year in Florida. That was a big mistake. Like trying to be like around the centers and the places where wrestling was happening. And I was like, I'd much rather just go back to California, do something at home, and have it be stuff that I enjoy and with people that maybe weren't getting opportunities in California.
Mhm.
Um, Wrestling can be, I'll use the phrase a boys club a lot of times. Like it can be a lot of things in a lot of ways exclusionary. And it's gotten so much better, but it's like, we got a long way to go still. But I just wanted to have fun. I wanted to enjoy myself. I didn't want to be like, oh, I'm trying to get signed or I want so and so to like this. It was for my enjoyment, for the wrestler's enjoyment. Like, let's get back to why did you want to be a wrestler? Like, what's fun for you today? Like, taking that first spark and like now with the knowledge that you've encompassed, um, let's do what brings us joy. And
Mhm.
that was like my mission to the Hood Slam roster and to get a lot of these names out more because, now there's streaming and everything. And as long as you have a social media, like you have an opportunity. But back then, no, like sometimes we're like a little removed from people getting VHSs of their matches at that point. So like you had to make a big bang to really get anyone to look over in your direction. It couldn't just be good wrestlers. It had to be something different, something new. Um, and maybe even like something successful and beyond like a wrestling crowd into like date night and like it's Friday and I'm out in town and I'm like worked all week and I want to spend my money somewhere fun, but not to go to a high school gym and be put off by some weird super fan yelling crazy stuff in front of children in like a church, no, let's go to a nightclub, let's have some drinks, let's do it 21 and up, let's smoke weed. Um, and yeah, apparently it's gone well because we're on year 14 now. So I guess we did something right.
You definitely did.
Mhm.
You definitely did. And with that connection with Hood Slam and cannabis, how did that come about? Was that always a part of the goal to have it be such an open space, especially with different shows and different characters that appear?
Yes, absolutely. I used to work at what at the time was called a cannabis club. I guess now you call it a dispensary. Or you definitely would, not I guess. Um, but it was like for doctor's notes only, and they were a lot harder to get back then. But I thought, wouldn't it be cool if we did a show where the patients could medicate while watching performance? So I was trying to get that together with the place I worked, and they liked the idea, but they just never committed to it. So I had a lot of leftover ideas from that I could then just apply to Hood Slam. And it being 420 friendly was a major one because like I went to a concert and I remember like, you see it all the time, but like my first time I was at a concert and I saw someone in the audience pass a blunt to the artist. And I was like, that's crazy. Like, how do they get it back? Like, they don't. Like, it's just, they're just happy the person shared their weed. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, they should do that for wrestlers. Like, we should have that energy. It should feel like a concert and not like a sporting event or like the Olympics or something. So bringing cannabis into that was part of that party atmosphere. And also just like you see wrestlers that actually maybe you don't see, but wrestlers do all kind of things and take all kind of stuff and put it in their body sometimes, and they can be very judgmental. But I wanted to show like, hey, the way you think it's okay to have 4 energy drinks before you body slam me, or maybe like get your buddy to inject something in your butt, medicinally. I'm gonna have a little joint, like, and we're all just getting to where we want to be. It's not like, oh wow, they're all fucked up. Some of them are, but it's more about just finding where we want to be as artists, and that can change. But like for us, it involves weed.
Yeah, and you mentioned in an Instagram post that it's been an act of wish fulfillment, right? When a fan hands you a blunt or a joint before, during your entrance, or after the show. What does that mean to you to have that connection with the fans through cannabis?
I mean, it's everything because it's super cool for one that people would feel like that's a nice thing they want to do for me. And I'm always like blown away by it. It's always very flattering. And more just the way like breaking bread with someone, um, burning a bowl with someone or sharing a blunt with someone is the way that we can bond and like share an experience and enjoy the same thing at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So, and a lot of times it's something that they give me and I have to do later because like I'm immediately departing to a hotel as soon as they make me stop selling merch. Um, so unfortunately, I don't always get to smoke with the person, but like I remember them and I think about it when I smoke it. And there's like a little moment of communion between me, the person, the weed, and like the universe. So it means everything. It's so cool.
I mean, yeah, I've partaked with you before and we've connected through that, and like X-Men and
Right?
Sandman. Yeah, it's been
Yeah.
good. And, you know, with your relationship with cannabis, how do you feel that that benefits your performance in the ring, whether that be within, the athletic ability and also the character work that you do?
Sometimes like unfortunately I do wrestle without smoking for many hours.
Mm-hmm.
And it's doable. I still enjoy it very much. There's different things that I can appreciate, but for the most part, it's about like getting the mindset to perform more than actually performing. Like once I'm out there, like it's in God's hands, and I'm just like this one. There's like a oneness from thought to action that just it's almost like I'm not even doing it. I'm more watching it happen. But like getting to that point, getting through the day, getting off a plane and like with zero sleep and like your body aches, but I don't want to take a pill. I don't want to get drunk.
Yeah.
I want to feel what's happening still, but I want to be able to have some ease of movement and like a little clarity of thought. And it really helps me in that way. There's a process of me. And I know a lot of people like vape and that's tight too. And so do I sometimes, but like there's a process to breaking down a nug and putting it in a blunt or a joint and
Mm-hmm.
rolling it up and then smoking it that like is, I can have a conversation. I don't have to focus like intensely, but the process is healing in its own way.
Mm-hmm.
And that helps me focus. It helps center me. It brings me to a place where I'm not thinking about 100 things. I'm just thinking about what's in front of me
Mm-hmm.
and what I'm going to be doing soon. So it's been a part of my process for over 20 years. Um, and it's gone well for me so far, I think. I'm sure there's some detractors, but like, say it to my face or just, sell more merch than me and then we can talk.
I love the
Yeah.
confidence in that.
Some of them do. If Makito want to gives me advice, I'll take it. If Matt Cardona wants to tell me something, sure, I'll listen. Um, but if your line at the merch booth is shorter than mine, like maybe just save it. Maybe I don't need it.
Do you think the wrestling industry is much more open to weed now than before? Is it like less of a taboo?
Yeah, because I don't think it's so much that people are like, yay, weed. Although there is a whole like national discourse or any discourse. It's just it becomes legal and people be like, okay, it's not so bad. Like I've heard it from people that are like, I'm a full ass adult and I've never smoked weed, but now that it's legal, I'll try it. And the medicinal uses are way more accepted as not just like hokey medicine. And in wrestling, we've seen it's like a lesser of evils, if not even beneficial, as I would argue. But people
Mhm.
have seen what it's like when wrestlers are doing pills and steroids and drinking and getting caught all the time, or, you know, unfortunately passing away at a very young age.
Mhm.
So while we've also noticed the people like RVD, or like Snoop Dogg, who can age very gracefully and are still keeping their love of life and like retaining so much that their counterparts are not, or are
Mhm.
not partaking. And I think when you have those examples, it goes a long way. I think when you see me come to the ring and a fan hands me a blunt at Hoodslam and I smoke the whole blunt and then I wrestle for 20 minutes, they're like, oh, maybe this isn't the poison I thought it was. Maybe this
Mhm.
is something a little more chill than the story I was told. So yeah, just all over. I used to have to hide it. I'd show up and I'd tell people I'm smoking. I'd just go on a walk and think nobody knew, even though I reeked of weed when I came back. But now it's everywhere. Like you can just, go outside the back door and there's somebody smoking. So it's nice.
Yeah. So when did you get into weed? Like what made you want to try it?
So at first I didn't want to. I lived in Atlanta and I saw weed and I was like, kind of looks like dirty grass. Not that interested. And then I came to California with that mindset, but I looked at it and I was like, oh, this is green and like colorful and it looks like a flower. Let's give it a shot. And honestly, I gave a lot of things a shot at that time. And this is the one that stuck the most. This and wrestling. And yeah, as far as you know what, those are two things that stuck really well and have not given me a reason to stop. A lot of other things just you can overdo it in ways that can be really hurtful physically or even spiritually or, however you
Mhm.
want to take it. If I smoke too much weed, I'll sleep it off. It's not that big of a deal. It's not going to ruin, my life. It hasn't yet, at least.
Mhm.
Whereas if I drink way too much, those have been much more punishing encounters the next day, or even like the choices I make during.
Mhm.
So through the benefits and the lack of deficit or like, just straight up pain it's brought to me, it was an easy choice to keep smoking.
How did it make you feel? Like when you first smoked?
At first, I was like, oh, I don't really think I got high. Like, I did feel like I was flying for a couple minutes, like literally,
Uh-huh.
but I was like, no, I didn't really get high. And then, I smoked again and I was like, well, I did watch all of Resident Evil bootleg, like really bad quality on my friend's computer, but I don't think it really hit me. Um, and then finally, I was like, oh no, this is effective. And also, like, I was kind of tense growing up, and I still can be at times, but I felt like I got off the roller coaster. Like I was holding really tight to the handlebars, like white knuckle tension. And then when I started smoking, I felt my shoulders come down and like my hands loosen up. And I realized how tense I had been this whole time.
Mhm.
And like how I didn't even like realize how much I needed to step back. And that was something I was always able to do while smoking is be able to just kind of like remove myself from the direct feeling of my life and more see it not from a third person perspective, but like a little more objectively and not subjectively, and be able to appreciate things or be able to judge my own decisions or how people are treating me in a much more fair light. So among like, just the physical release of tension and being able to just like think at what was a normal pace and not this rapid fire process I didn't even realize I was doing. I just knew I was frustrated. Everyone else wasn't thinking as fast. Um, yeah, it's lovely. What can I say?
So it gives you like a sense of enlightenment, right? Like when you first tried it and up until now.
Yeah, I think that's a fair way to put it. Enlightenment, or even just the way that makes the most sense to me out loud was giving the objective perspective and not
Mhm.
always like feeling the emotion of the situation, but being able to just see how other people might have felt that I didn't notice right away. It was just a great way for me to recenter and calibrate to objective reality. You know, that's something I need every now and then is for someone to point out what's actually happening.
I feel that.
Um,
I'm the same way.
yeah, yeah, it's
So
great. It's helpful.
sometimes it is, yeah. And
Mm.
obviously your relationship with it is very strong. Do you only smoke or do you enjoy edibles? Any do you prefer like blunts or joints? Talk to me about that.
I mostly smoke blunts, sometimes joints. I don't have any blunts, or if I'm around company that would prefer it that way. I have a pipe, I have a bong, but it's really just out of laziness. I just don't feel like rolling something, and I'm just like, I'll just hit something right now. I like always, I'll do dabs, I'll do whatever you got, whatever you can put in front of me. But edibles, I try and put more in a situation where I know, like, I don't really like to have edibles before I wrestle. It tends to make me feel heavier,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to the lighter feeling I'm going for. It's great for long flights when I need to go to sleep an hour and a half before a movie. There's all kinds of situations where I would, but more blunts. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Does smoking give you more uh ideas for gear? Because your gear I love so much.
Thank you so much. I copy from the best, and the best is, X-Men characters. So, and other assorted comic related stuff. So I appreciate that very much. I'm very proud of my gear collection. I think maybe that's someday someone's gonna find a trunk of all this stuff, like on Storage Wars or some shit. And they're gonna be like, what this person, what did they do? What was it, like all club wear? So why do they have 12 different colored boots? Like, whatever. But it definitely helps. I don't think it's necessary. I can come up with ideas wherever, but usually I'm paying a little more attention if I've decided like I'm gonna smoke and read this comic or watch this movie or disconnect from my fucking cell phone for an hour and a half. Then yeah, I think it helps me like pinpoint on the things I like more and take note as a fan, of wrestling and being entertained and cool outfits. Like, what are the ones that make me stand up? I think I would still have that in me, but it definitely isn't hurting for me to be high when that happens. Maybe it gives me a little more like, oh, is that good? Like, that's probably a good idea. Let me write it down. And where if I was like stone cold sober, I'd be like, that's too wild. Like, no, I can't do the Madeline Pryor titty top. Like, that's ridiculous. But I get high enough. I'm like, yeah, yeah, I could do that. That sounds like a great idea. So, so I got it.
um,
Yeah.
so how would you say weed changes the wrestling scene for performers in the element of like mental health?
I think it helps avoid a lot of traps that are in the way. Like we have to fall asleep after we've been up all day, and then we have to wake up early to make the flight, and then we have to like be on that. It's great we get to fly, but it can be uncomfortable on the body. Like when you're sore, you haven't slept enough, and now you're flying in some whack chair, and then you're going right back to wrestling. Like it helps fall asleep. It helps like get the appetite up when you can eat. It helps with the pain of being on the plane and maybe like catching a few hours of sleep there, as opposed to just being like aching and hurt. It really it's wonderful in so many ways. But I'm trying to pinpoint and like remember the initial question. Um,
Yeah,
Let
just
me get
like
it a
in
little one more
terms of
time, please.
how has like weed changed the wrestling scene for performers with mental health? Like for you, for example, of coming out of the ring, maybe when you feel like you have a bad match or if you feel like you've had a successful match, like how does that elevate your mindset?
I don't know if I've ever felt that way. Um, But I'll try and put myself in the shoes of someone who's had a match they don't like. It hurt immediately. But no, I don't know. It's not really about that. I'm like I separate. I have to separate things. So, and I know I'm going to have many matches. So if things don't go all the way right, there's always tomorrow night. There's always next week. Like I'll live. Like when I was thinking about if I just focus on like, oh, right now, today, like, yeah, I'll find something to be mad about. But when I start to get that objective perspective again and being able to like step back and see, I've been wrestling like 20 years. I'm probably going to wrestle a lot more years.
Mhm.
Is today really the end of the world to me? Will I remember this in like 2 months, let alone like 5 years? Um, so I think that mentally, like, I don't know if I would have that if I know I wouldn't have that if I had to be like not smoking weed all the time. I don't want to use the word sober because it implies intoxicated, but
Mhm.
it's not about being intoxicated. Like sometimes I do want to know myself from the airport. I'll be honest, because it can be very intense to be in a place where all kinds of people, are there and they have a lot to say sometimes. And
Mhm.
I do want to just be like, whatever, dude. I don't know. I'm high. I don't care. Go back to what I'm doing. Um, but if I'm like cranky and I haven't had coffee yet and I haven't gotten high and someone gets in my face, like I'm gonna have some shit to say back because mentally I'm like not able to separate yet. I'm not able to like just exist. I'm hung up on so much. I think smoking helps a lot with that. Again, so I'll be able to think through whatever's bugging me before I get to that point and not be so cranky at the airport.
Sometimes that's hard, whether you're
Yeah.
smoking and sober, right? Or sober, but it's hard
Right.
to just exist. But then again, like you're just traveling so much. Like you travel one day, right? Like you'll come to New York, for example. You arrive in the morning, you wrestle, and then you fly back home or you fly to another destination. Um, how difficult is that for you?
I mean, it's not so hard. Like, I want to bitch about it more because I just already did. But like, honestly, it's great that I get to do that. So like, April was like a great example. I did Hoodslam Friday night. I got on a red eye, flew to Philadelphia
Mm-hmm.
and did big gay brunch. Like, I don't know, like just a few hours later, honestly. Like it started at 11 a.m., which is like 8 a.m. my time. So like less than 12 hours later, I'm on the other side of the country. Like 8 hours later, because I have to be there before the show starts. Something ridiculous. And then Russell, like 40 minutes after that show ends, and then like another time at 12, because we just did 3 shows that day, because, fuck it. Why not? But I love the weekend. It means I don't have to wake up to an alarm Monday through Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't have a job the rest of the week. This is awesome. Like, this is a wonderful trade-off. Um, and like the people that go to work every day, like you're the real heroes. I could never. But I don't think it's just about mental health and wrestling though. I think like for a lot of the reasons I've already laid out, just being able to like look back at your problem, appreciate more than what's bothering me. That's something that's universal. You could have any job and kind of need that moment to remove yourself from your work and social anxieties, whatever it might be, and to meditate or just kind of reflect on yourself. And I think for a lot of people, that means maybe it means sitting at the bar and not talking to anyone for 40 minutes, or maybe it means having a blunt, having something out of the ground. Feels a little bit better. I guess alcohol is made out of like ground stuff too. I shouldn't pick on it, but I'd much rather stay on my couch and smoke a blunt and think about my day than like go to a bar, get into an argument with someone, get interrupted by someone, drink for 40 fucking minutes, like uninterrupted. Also weird. None of that feels right.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like good for my mental health, but this feels much better. It feels much right, much more right in a way that I could better for me. That's for sure. To each
Mhm.
their own, but a much better route for me to take.
So, last question.
Hmm.
What does world domination look like for Dark Sheik and Hoodslam?
Hmm. It means the people have already asked for it. I'm not going to dom anyone that didn't ask me to. So it means that the people are ready for it. They want to have an experience. I suppose maybe doing more episodes. I'm really happy with our relationship with Fight. Would be nice to do more shows outside of California because I know people ask me in Chicago, Arizona wants us back, Vegas, where I live. Like, why not there? Portland and Seattle. It's always like something I think about, but look, I'm busy. Like I'm wrestling all the fucking time already, and then I got to write this show. And I love doing it, but I know when I start doing it too much, it starts being more work than play. And
Mhm.
there's an appropriate amount of both, but when it becomes like I don't feel like doing this anymore, it probably means I'm doing it too much. So I think domination for Hood Slam means more of other people stepping up and carrying the torch. Like we've already had 14 years of my ideas. It's been great, but like I think other people's ideas would be cool too. And them kind of taking the baton from me and showing me how it can be so much better. There should be like more comics of Hood Slam, more zines like the one we put out not too long ago that covers the lore of the last 4 years, but there's 10 more years that go undocumented. I'd love to see that done. I don't think it has to be from my lens though. Someone else step up, throw me a bone, help me out, make it yours. And we'll do franchises and we'll be a Hood Slam in every town and we'll send them all to Fight TV. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But I have so many stories I do want to tell, and it's really hard to do on one or two shows a month. Like I do have ideas for like doing stories every week if it came down to it, but it's good, letting them simmer too. So we'll see what the universe wants. I ask the universe every now and then what it wants from me, and I try and be a good listener. And we'll see if it says do more, I'll do more myself. But I'm asking help, please. Whoever wants to step up. This episode brought to you by, we'll see.
Amazing.